Good evening and welcome to Cabot High School's virtual financial aid night. I'm senior Rachel Tyndall and I'm joined tonight by Miss Lisa McCollum-Smith. Miss Smith has been active in educational finance since 1987. She presently serves as the Henderson State Director of Financial Aid, and before that she was the Program Specialist Outreach Coordinator for the Arkansas Division of Higher Education. She has conducted numerous financial aid workshops throughout Arkansas and has assisted students in finding scholarships to further their education. Ms. McCollum-Smith is known as the Free Money Lady. Ms. Smith previously coordinated several state scholarships and formerly served as outreach coordinator for 24 years at the Arkansas Student Loan Authority, a nonprofit state agency that provides educational funding. Ms. Smith's main goal is to let people know that anyone and everyone can further their education. The students of today are the leaders of tomorrow. So she travels the state of Arkansas to enhance access to higher education. Ms. Smith's motto is, "You miss 100% of the shots that you never take." Hello, Ms. Smith, and thank you for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, Rachel.
Of course. Just a reminder, please write any questions that you may have in the comments, and we will do our best to answer those questions. Starting off, let's begin with what is the FAFSA, when do I complete it, and what information do I need?
Awesome, great question. The FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. This is an application that every student in the nation and United States of America has to complete if they're planning on attending college, unless they're going to pay cash for all the years that they are in college. Other than that, they do require you to complete this FAFSA. It's actually going to determine if you qualify for any federal aid that is set aside to help students to further their education.
Okay, great. How much money can I receive from the FAFSA?
Well, actually, they're going to look at different aspects when you're completing that application to determine what you qualify for. For example, they look at the assets, they look at income, they look at student income and parent income. And then that's how they determine what you qualify for.
Okay, great. So once they take all of that information, where does it go?
It actually go online. Everything is online through the Department of Higher Education, the U.S. Department of Education, which is a FAFSA division, and that's where to go, and they will actually process the application. So as soon as you get the application in, they try to process it within that week, or sometimes it takes 2 weeks. It just depends on if it's the peak season.
Okay, so whenever that is submitted, how do we see if it has been processed or if we're still waiting for that?
Great question. When you're completing that FAFSA, you actually have to create an account. The student create an account, the parents create an account, and you can log in with your password and username, and that way you can see the status of your application. We do encourage students to always go back, make it a habit to check for the application at least twice a week to kind of see if they need additional information or something is not correct. So always log back into your account.
Okay. Once that form's been processed, what happens from there?
Once you complete the application, submit it in, you will receive an email from the Department of Education letting you know that they have received your application and it's in process. That doesn't mean that it is completed, but just letting you know that they have received it. Once they complete processing your application, then they will also send you another email with a student aid report. That would break down what you qualify for and how much.
Okay, so if I made a mistake on my FAFSA, how can I correct that? And what are some mistakes that people commonly make?
Wow, some mistakes that people commonly make we see quite often. Some students may use their nickname, like if their name is Jonathan, but they go by Joe. They might put Joe on the application, so therefore it won't match up with that Social Security number. So it's important to use your correct name. Whatever's on your Social Security card, please use that name. We also have seen where parents decide, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this application for my student because I just wanna get this over with and see how much money we're getting. That's understandable. But parents, if you're gonna fill out the application, and your student is not sitting there with you, the best thing to do is make sure you read and put the information in the correct section. There is a section for the parent and there's a section for the student. So it's important for you to put the parent information in the parent section. We find that that happens and then the student won't qualify for anything. So it's important for you to know what section you're in and put that information in.
Okay, thank you. So whenever we get that aid money, how do you accept that?
Well, you can go on, it depends on the school. Once it's been processed and you receive your student aid report from the Department of Education, then that means it also has been sent to the school. So say, for example, if you've applied for 5 different schools, then you will need to place those 5 different schools on the application and they will receive the results. At that point, the school will contact you by email, mail, it depends on the school, and then you can accept that through the school.
Okay, great. Do I need to complete the FAFSA in order to apply for scholarships?
Well, some scholarships, some private scholarships do require you to complete the FAFSA. We even have our state scholarships. Once you do the state application, they also require you to have the FAFSA completed your first year. Okay.
All right. Who determines what money comes from the FAFSA and what do they look at?
Well, that's within the processing system. So once you submit that back to FAFSA, then they will process it and they will determine how much money you will receive. But there is what they call a COA, cost of attendance. So students cannot exceed that cost of attendance with any financial aid.
All right. Does financial aid give you money every month, or how does that work?
Well, once the funds are received at the institution, it will be split in 2. So, for example, when the U.S. Department of Education decides to go ahead and pay out, like the Pell Grant, if they qualify for Pell, and they get the max, which is $73.35, that means you're going to get half of that amount for the fall and the remaining half for the spring. So it is split in half, and you get it per semester.
Okay. So besides those federal grants and loans, where can I go to find financial aid?
It's very important for students to understand that there are all types of scholarships that are available. So we encourage students to take some time out of their days, let's say 30 minutes a day, and research the internet. Google. Everybody loves to Google. I Google all the time. Now when someone asks me a question, I will Google. Even in church and Bible study, if my pastor asks me a question, if I don't know it, I'm under the table Googling. So that's all we ask students to do, is Google. And Google for scholarships and apply. But one main thing you need to realize, do not pay for any scholarship application. Don't pay. If they ask you to pay them a certain amount, then just skip that one and go on to the next scholarship.
Yes, ma'am. What are state scholarships and how much are they?
Actually, state scholarships is scholarships are set aside for students that is funded by the state of Arkansas. The largest one they have is called the Arkansas Academic Challenge, which you may know it as the lottery scholarship. I know you've heard of that, right?
Yes, ma'am, the Arkansas Scholarship.
Yes, so that's one of the largest scholarships that the state provide. And when I say state, that's Arkansas. And so therefore you have to attend an Arkansas institution to actually receive the funds from the state. They want to remain the funds right here in the state of Arkansas.
Okay. So when can I start applying for those state scholarships?
State scholarship application actually opened on October the 1st, so it started this week. So
great.
This is a good time for students. If you are a senior in high school, this is the time you need to start applying for the state scholarship. So you can go to their website, which is sams.adhe.edu. Again, that's SAMS, SAMS.adhe.edu. And you can go ahead and start applying for the state scholarship. They have a really cool application. It's what we call a one-stop shop application. So you're going to answer questions, and it'll determine out of all the scholarships that they have for the state, which ones you qualify for. And then you submit that application for each one that you qualify for. So it's great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Should I start applying for scholarships before or after I'm admitted to college?
Actually, before. I encourage high school juniors to actually start looking for scholarships. There are not many scholarships for high school juniors, but if you find one, but it says you have to be a senior and you know you're qualified for it, then you can bookmark that one. And when you become a senior, you can go back to it and apply for it. So it won't be as hard on you looking for scholarship your senior year. I hear so many seniors say, I have so much to do that I'm a senior. So that's why it's important to start early. And I do encourage you to start like in, let's say, September all the way up to maybe January or February is the best time to start looking for scholarships.
Yeah, it sounds like that planning is really important.
It's very important.
So there's a lot of scholarship talk. What kind of scholarships are there?
Oh my gosh, it's so many different scholarships that I have found just taking a little time and researching, Google, and I found different scholarships. For example, if you're left-handed, there's a scholarship. If you're naturally blonde, there is a scholarship. If you're naturally blue eyes, there's a scholarship. If you're so tall or if you're so short, there is a scholarship. I meet the so short scholarship, so I enjoy that. So it's all different type of scholarship. I tell students to think of anything that's unique about yourself. Research and see if there's a scholarship. Not only that, different companies have scholarship. I love to shop, so places where we shop, ask them if they have a scholarship. Research, Google, and see if they have a scholarship. Different brand names have scholarships. So it's so many scholarships that are available. Billions of dollars go unclaimed each year because students don't apply for these scholarships.
Wow.
So just apply. Whenever you out shopping, when you buying you a new phone and you in Best Buy or Target or somewhere, ask them if they have a scholarship. Or just go ahead and Google and see.
Wow. Okay, so in order to actually qualify and apply for these scholarships, do I have to have good grades or even like a high ACT score?
It's good to have good grades, GPA, and focus very strongly on the ACT score to do the best that you can. You do have some scholarships that require a certain score and or GPA. So that's why you want to start your junior year so you can start focusing, meeting that goal to get that scholarship. So, and then you have some scholarships that don't even require anything. So, wow. But it's always good to stay focused and keep that GPA up, keep studying, taking the ACT. Some of them, if you can't make a good score on the ACT, there are other tests that you can take that is equivalent to the ACT. Really? So you can research that, and like the AccuPlacer, even the state scholarships, you can take the AccuPlacer to get accepted in with that. So it's always good to actually just test. If you don't do well, find an alternate test. Make friends with your high school counselor. They will talk with you about the alternate tests that you can take and get you signed up for it.
Wow, it sounds like there really is a scholarship for everybody, but what about those planning to attend technical schools?
Technical schools, now you can also look for scholarships. I know the state has some for you if you're going to a technical school. So that's why it does not matter where you're going. Always research, always ask questions to try to figure out what scholarships is best for you.
Great. So I know you mentioned just going on Google and looking around, but is there any specific place that you would suggest looking for those scholarships?
There are a few, and I don't know if they've been telling you about the booklet, but there's a booklet called How to Pay for College booklet, and it does have websites that you can go on in the back of the booklet to actually look for scholarships. There's one called FastWeb, FASTWEB.com, and they're really good about having thousands of scholarships on their site. You answer a few questions, and it will determine which scholarship you qualify for. But here's the key thing about scholarships. You have to apply. They don't know that you want the money. You got to apply. So students, you have to sit down, take the time to apply for the scholarship. Submit that application in. Now, this is where I get a lot of students looking at me like I'm crazy when I say some scholarships do require you to write an essay, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. Who know you better than you? So write that essay. All they're saying is, give me a 500-word essay, we'll give you $2,000. trust me, when you see that bill from the institution, that $2,000 will actually help.
Be worth it,
It
for
will
sure.
be worth it to write that essay. And not only write it, but get someone to proof it. Make sure you proof the essay, have that essay proof, and then make sure you give it to someone who's going to be honest and know where a comma goes, know where a capital letter goes, know where the period goes. It's important for you to have a perfect essay when you submit that in.
Okay, so I know that you mentioned to never pay for a scholarship, but are there any other ways that we know that a scholarship is legitimate or not?
Yeah, if you're not comfortable with a lot of information that they are asking you, I encourage you to contact an institution, whatever college. It does not have to be a college that you plan to attend, or talk with your high school counselor and just kind of get some feedback from someone else.
Okay, thank you. So whenever you get money from FAFSA and scholarships, what if it happens to pay for your entire tuition? Do you get to keep the extra money?
If there's money remaining, yes, you will get what we call a refund. So if you get enough scholarships to pay for everything for that semester, then yes, you will get a refund to go into your pocket.
Great. On that money that we get from the FAFSA and the scholarships, do you have to pay taxes?
You do not have to pay taxes on the money that you receive. As long as you're in education, you do not have to pay taxes on that.
Great. So after you get those scholarships, do you have to reapply for them every school year?
Some scholarships do require you to reapply. Now, when you complete the FAFSA, again, that's the free application for federal student aid. When you complete that, you do have to go and complete that each year. And parents, you have to sit down with your student each year to complete this FAFSA. There are information that they will need from you because, again, keep in mind there is a student section and a parent section. So parents, you have to put your information on there. You will have to have your taxes completed. For example, if you have a high school senior, then they're going to be applying for the 24-25 or 2024 and 2025 FAFSA. But you're going to be using your 2022 taxes. So it's always 2 years behind. But each year, you do have to complete that FAFSA and submit it in.
Okay, great. So let's say that I was thinking about taking a gap year. How would that affect my scholarships, and what exactly is a gap year?
Gap year is when someone decides they're going to just sit out for maybe a year, or some may go and do an internship that's not with the school. What they would need to do is contact the owner of that scholarship and see if they can place it on hold. There are some scholarships you can place on hold if you have a reason. All of them have their own list of how or when they can place it on hold. So I encourage you to just stay in contact with the owner of that scholarship and contact them to see what they can do to place their scholarship on hold. We do have students that actually lose their scholarship because they don't know to just contact the financial aid office or contact that owner of that scholarship and say, hey, what can I do to place my scholarships on hold? Now, each institution may have their own scholarships, what they call institutional scholarships. And so they will know if you can place it on hold. So it's always good to communicate with the financial aid office once you're on campus.
Okay. Okay, so besides the tuition and fees, the room and board, what else do I need to include in my budget for the school year, and how can I really stay on track with all that?
Well, you always need to include like personal expenses. You know, we got to keep our hygienes up. We got to eat. We have to, and I know they have room and board, but a lot of students don't want to eat what's on campus. So you got to kind of put that in your budget for as eating out. May want to order pizza, but I wouldn't try to order pizza every day unless you have the money. So these are other things that you have to look at that's outside of the cost of attendance, which is the tuition fees, room, board. So transportation. If you want to drive back and forth, then you got to consider gas. Or even if you just have a car on campus, you still have to consider having that gas. So this is something else you need to look at when you're budgeting, making up your budget, set your budget.
All right, thank you. Are there any service-based opportunities for me to get money?
There are some service-based, but you just have to research and see. And when you research and try to find the service-based, then some of them will let you know exactly what you need to have done. Again, that's why you need to start early.
Yes, ma'am. So let's say that I'm considering taking out some kind of loan. What type of loan would you suggest?
Well, when you complete the FAFSA, the government does have 3 different type of loans that is factored into your FAFSA. So they will determine if you qualify for the 3 loans that they have. They have the subsidized loan, unsubsidized loan, and then they have what they call a plus loan. Now, the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan will be in the student's name. So it's the student's responsibility to pay it back. The difference between the sub and the unsub, the government pays the interest on the subsidized while the student is in college. Once that student graduates from college, and then that's when they will go into repayment 6 months after, or if they drop less than half-time or drop out, they have a 6 months grace period. In that 7th month, they're going to go into repayment, and at that point, the student is responsible for principal and interest. On the unsubsidized loan, the government does not pay the interest, so therefore the student will be responsible for paying their interest. They will get a statement from their lender every 3 months to show how much their interest payment is. If they make the interest payment, good job. If they don't make their interest payment, it will cap into their principal, and then interest will accrue all over again.
Okay.
Those are 2 for the students. And then they have the plus loan, which is a parent loan for an undergraduate student, which means that is in the parent's name. So parents, you are responsible for that loan. Now, you do not have a grace period. Once you sign off and it's dispersed out, you would immediately go into repayment. So parents, you will be making payments on that plus loan while your student is in college.
Okay, thank you so much. While I'm in college, would you suggest that I create a monthly budget, and how do you think that would benefit?
It's great to have a budget. I always have students to sit down with their parents and work out a budget. That way the student will know what they can spend, when they got to stop spending, how much they can spend, and they can, it relieves the stress off of them. Not only should they have a budget, but when they get the refund, if they're going to get a refund back, then they need to sit down with their parents and budget that refund. Because keep in mind, you got that whole semester to go. So you have to budget that out and know what you can spend and when to stop spending. So it's great to have a budget while you're in college. Now, I speak to several students and they'll look at me like, really? They call me Miss Lisa on campus. So they'll look at me and say, Miss Lisa, really? Yes, you need to have a budget.
Everyone needs a budget.
This is when you need to start, is while you're in college.
Help you create those healthy habits for later in life,
That's
too.
right. That's
Yes, ma'am.
exactly right.
So, I see the How to Pay for College, a guide for Arkansas students. Where can I get that again?
They do have a website, and I'm sure they're going to put the website up so you all can see the website, but you can actually go to asla.ade.edu. So you can always get the online. They do have an online. Again, I'm sorry, that is asla.info. asla.info. They do have it online where you can actually read it online just like a book, or you can give them a call and they can send you a booklet. It is 1-800-443-5030.
Okay, great. Were you wanting to mention the other booklet?
There is a booklet, and you can check with your high school counselor, but it's called Arkansas Next Money. And this is a great booklet for students to have and parents to have to give you some tips on what we talked about, like budgeting, buying your first car. All that is in this booklet. It gives you a lot of tips on spending money and setting up a budget. So it's really a good little magazine for everyone, parents and students, to actually look through.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Smith, for your time tonight, and thank you all for joining us online. For Ms. Lisa Smith, I'm Rachel Tyndall. Have a great night.